Hi, welcome to Roy's Game Table. Today we have Spider-Man leadership against Green Goblin risky business on Expert. So pull up a chair and let's see who wins. Everything is shuffled up and ready to go. If you're not familiar with Green Goblin risky business scenario, Green Goblin has his alter ego in this one, Norman Osborne, and you can't attack him while he is Norman Osborne. So in order to get him to flip to Green Goblin, you have to remove all of the counters off of his criminal enterprise environment here. And once you do that, you flip criminal enterprise over to what's called State of Madness side, and then you can flip Norman Osborne over to Green Goblin, and you can start attacking Green Goblin to bring his health down. But until then, he's just going to sit there and do his thing until you get him to flip. One thing I did forget, his main scheme starts off with 2 threat on it. So let me go ahead and put that on there. And I'm going to draw up my 6 cards. Okay, and so I can mulligan right now, and I think I'm going to go ahead and I really want to get Black Cat, Aunt May, and Inspired out. I want to get that out as soon as possible. So I'm actually going to go ahead and mulligan, I think, everything here, all 6 of the cards, and draw up a new hand size of 6. All right, well, I got one of the cards I wanted, Aunt May, so I'm going to go ahead and use Peter Parker's mental resource, that's his special ability, to put her into play for 1. And then I'm going to put in Squirrel Girl into play. And I'm going to use Vision and Lead from the front to do that. And when she comes into play, she deals 1 damage to each enemy. So again, you don't deal damage to Norman Osborne. In order to get the tokens off, you have to attack him, so to speak. And what that does is actually remove tokens off of the criminal enterprise. So the 1 damage will remove this token. And I'm going to go ahead and have her thwart for 1 off of the main scheme. And then I'm going to have Peter Parker flip to Spider-Man and have him thwart for 1 off of the main scheme, so we don't run the risk of that advancing, because the second scheme, 2B, has a hazard icon that you have to deal with the rest of the game, and I don't like drawing extra encounter cards, so I want to make sure I keep that scheme under check. So let's ready everyone and draw back up to 5 in the case of Spider-Man. Okay, so 1 threat on the main scheme, and then Norman Osborne, instead of attacking, he has a forced interrupt, which says when Norman Osborne would attack, place 2 infamy counters on criminal enterprise instead. So I don't get to draw the card for Spider Sense because he's not attacking. It's similar to the stun and the other, and confuse and things like that. His forced interrupt, instead of attacking, he places those 2 infamy counters. So that's what I'm going to do. So now criminal enterprise will go up to 3. And now for the encounter card, it is Oscorp Manufacturing. I'm going to put that over here. When revealed, place an additional 1 threat here. So it's going to come into play with 3 counters on it, and it has an acceleration icon. Okay, back to Spider-Man. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the call for Maria Hill, because I discarded her during setup. I'm going to go ahead and put her into play with Make the Call, and I'm going to spend another Make the Call and Inspired to pay for her. And when she comes into play, she lets me draw a card, so I will. It's webbed up, and she comes in with 2 counters. Excuse me, she comes in with 2 health. I'm going to have her thwart for 2 off this side scheme here to drop it down to 1. And then I'll go ahead and have Squirrel Girl thwart to remove this side scheme. And that will knock her out of the game. But the reason why I want to do that is because I want Spider-Man to attack for 2 and keep this criminal enterprise under control so it doesn't get out of hand, so that when I'm ready to attack Green Goblin, I can do some damage. And that's all I'm going to be able to do for now, so I'll ready up and draw back up to 5. Okay. 1 threat on the main scheme. He's supposed to attack, but he doesn't. Instead, puts 2 counters on Criminal Enterprise, bringing it back up to 3. The encounter card is Mad Genius. And so, when revealed, he's Norman Osborne. Discard the top of your deck for each infamy counter on Criminal Enterprise. So I get to discard 3 cards. And it's back to Spider-Man. Now, I could have kept that from happening with Enhanced Spider Sense, but I think I'm okay. I still got plenty of cards left in my deck. So I'm going to go ahead and put now Mockingbird into play, using these 2 Inspired and Webbed Up. And when she comes into play, she'll stun Norman Osborne. And yes, you can stun him on this side. He just won't put counters on Criminal Enterprise. Mockingbird comes into play with 3 health. And I'm going to go ahead and have Maria Hill thwart for 2. It will knock her out of the game. I'm going to have her thwart to remove the threat off of the main scheme. Then I'm going to have Spider-Man attack for 2. Again, to keep Criminal Enterprise under control. And I'll call that. And we'll ready up and draw back up to 5. Okay, 1 threat on the main scheme. He's supposed to attack and put tokens on Criminal Enterprise, but he doesn't because he's stunned. The encounter card is Assault, Treachery. The villain attacks you. And I don't want that to happen because I have a plan of what I want to do. So I'm going to use Enhanced Spider Sense. And I'm going to use Get Ready to pay for that. So he will not attack and put any counters on Criminal Enterprise, and it's back to Spider-Man. I'm going to go ahead and have Mockingbird attack for 1, dropping her to 2 to take this counter off. And whenever you remove counters, it flips. And so that means that you have to flip Norman Osborne over to Green Goblin. And when he does, when it's revealed, you deal 4 indirect damage to each player. And I'm just going to have Spider-Man take off 4 of that to drop him down to 6. From 10 to 6. And then you State of Madness enters play with 2 tokens on it. Alright? And then if those 2 tokens ever come off, you flip back to Criminal Enterprise and you flip back to Norman Osborne over here. He still has 18 health. Green Goblin has 18 health. Okay. So I'm going to have Spider-Man go ahead and attack for 2. Dropping Green Goblin down from 18 to 16. Oops. And then I'm going to play a Swinging Web Kick for 1, 2, and black backflip for strength and backflip for 3 to deal 8 damage to him, dropping him down to 8. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and have Spider-Man flip to Peter Parker and use Aunt May to heal him back up, heal 4 damage back up to 10. And then I'll ready up and draw up to 6 because I'm on my alter ego side. Okay, 1 threat here on the main scheme. Green Goblin is supposed to scheme, but his force to interrupt is when he would scheme, remove 1 madness counter from State of Madness. So I will, and again, if this other counter comes off, he'll flip back to Norman Osborne. So the encounter card is going to Pumpkin Bombs. You attach it to the villain. And after the villain attacks you, discard Pumpkin Bombs and take 2 indirect damage. I can spend 2 physical resources to remove that. Okay, back to Peter Parker. And let's see, I definitely want to get Black Cat into play. This is something I wanted to do from the beginning of the game. So I'll use Genius to do that. And she'll come into play with 2. And when she does, I have to discard the top 2 cards of my deck and add each card with a printed mineral resource discard this way to my hand. So backflip, and so I don't get to take any of the cards into my hand, just discard. Thank you, Black Cat, for that. But oh well, that's okay. I'll live. I'm going to put Wonder Man into play with Peter Parker's mineral resource and Falcon, because I used Genius to put Black Cat, so I did still have Peter Parker's resource. So anyway, Wonder Man comes in with 3, and I'm at my ally max limit. So I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to Spider-Man. I'm going to have Mockingbird attack for 1. Bringing Green Goblin down to 7. I'm going to bring to have Black Cat attack for 1, bringing Green Goblin down to 6. And Black Cat's attack does not have consequential damage, so as long as I can keep her in the game, she can deal damage, at least 1 point of damage the whole game. And then I'm going to discard Hawkeye to allow Wonder Man to attack for 3, dropping Green Goblin down to 3. And that'll drop him down to 2. And then I think I'm actually going to have Spider-Man thwart for 1 right now, just to keep the main scheme under control. I'm happy with him at 3 right now. So we're going to end there and draw back up to 5 and ready everyone. Okay. Villain phase. 1 threat on the main scheme. And so he's going to attack this time, and I'm going to have Mockingbird take that attack. It's going to be for 4 damage, and so that'll knock her out of the game. And then, of course, because we have pumpkin bombs, we have to deal 2 indirect damage. And I'll just have Spider-Man take that, drop him from 10 to 8. And then the encounter card. When revealed, choose to either spend 2 resources of any type or give the villain 1 face-down boost card. I'll just give him a boost card. So, and I'll put that there to remember that he has a boost card for whatever attack or scheme, whatever he may do, because I don't want to spend 2 resources. Okay, back to Spider-Man. Okay, everyone, I just realized that when Green Goblin attacked me earlier, I get to draw a card for Spider Sense. I haven't played with Spider-Man for a while, so I tend to forget that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw his card now. He should have 6. Okay, I'm going to have Wonder Man attack for 3, and I'm going to discard Honorary Avenger to allow him to do that. And when I attack him for 3, that will drop Green Goblin down to 0 on this side. So that means he will advance. And when he advances to stage 3 of Green Goblin, you deal 4 damage to each player. So Spider-Man has to take all of that, dropping him from 8 to 4. Okay. And then Wonder Man is down to 1. So he'll come back into play with 22 hit points. All right, and then I'm going to have Black Cat attack for 1 and Spider-Man for 2 for a total of 3 damage to Green Goblin, dropping him from 22 to 19. And then I'm going to play a swinging web kick using Spider Tracer, Web Shooter, and Lead from the Front. And that's going to deal 8 damage to Green Goblin, dropping him from 19 to 11. And then I'm going to flip to Peter Parker and have Aunt May heal him for 4, bringing him back up to 8. Okay, I'll ready up and draw. And I am going to have to deal an encounter card because I don't have enough cards in my deck. So I'll deal the encounter card for next round, shuffle my deck, and finish up drawing up to 6. Okay, villain phase. The main scheme will go up to 3. And then he's supposed to scheme, but instead he takes his counter off, which will flip to criminal enterprise. And that will come in with 2 counters. And then it will also flip Green Goblin back over to Norman Osborne. Okay, so then I have to deal myself my normal encounter card. So I got 2 I got to deal with this turn. The first one is going to be, when revealed, Norman Osborne, discard the top card of your deck for each infamy counter on criminal enterprise. And I have nothing I can do about that, so I'll have to discard Mockingbird and Inspired. And then the other card is Payoff. And so it'll come into play with 2 threat counters on it, with 2 threat, and it has a hazard icon, so I got to keep that in mind. I don't want that to stick around too long. And it is back to Peter Parker. I'm going to go ahead and discard Honorary Avenger so that Wonder Man can attack for 3. And that will flip Criminal Enterprise back over to State of Madness, bringing 2 counters back on. And that will flip Norman Osborne back over to Green Goblin and deal 4 damage to each player. And that's going to go to, obviously, to Spider-Man, dropping him from 8 to 4. And it will also take Wonder Man out of the game. And then I'm going to have Aunt May go ahead and heal Peter Parker back up to 8. And then I'm going to put Nick Fury into play with the 1 mental resource and these 3 resources here, and leave Squirrel Girl in maybe for next time. And when he comes in, I'm going to have him deal the 4 damage that he deals, dropping Green Goblin from 11 to 7. Okay, and he'll come in with 3. And I'll have him go ahead. I can't do enough damage to beat Green Goblin this turn, so I'm going to have him go ahead and thwart to get rid of this side scheme, because I don't want to have to draw an extra encounter card. And then I'll have Black Cat attack for 1, dropping Green Goblin down to 6. And then I'll flip over to Spider-Man, have him attack for 2, drop him down to 4. Or dropping him, yeah, down to 4, I'm sorry. 6 to 4. Sorry, I'm thinking about other things while I'm trying to do this. So then I'll ready everyone and draw up to 5. 1 threat on the main scheme goes up to 4. And he's going to attack this time, so I get to draw a card for Spider-Man because he's initiating an attack against him. And I'm going to have Nick Fury jump in front of this. So he's going to have 2 boost cards, because you remember the one from earlier. And the first one is the villain heals 2 damage up to 6. From 4 back up to 6. And then the other one is place 2 infamy counters on Criminal Enterprise if you cannot remove 2 madness counters from State of Madness. Well, okay, this is kind of good. Let me explain something. So the 2 counters will actually flip him back over to Norman Osborne. And what happens here is Norman Osborne attacks for 0 plus whatever the boost icons were. Well, there were no boost icons. And so he actually does an attack of 0. So actually Nick Fury will not leave the game until the end of the round now. But I have him on Norman Osborne, and now I'm going to have to figure out how to flip him over to win the game, which I should be able to. But yes, I just want to make sure everyone understands that if the boost card, like what happened here with this one, causes Green Goblin to flick back to Norman Osborne before damage can be dealt, then Norman Osborne attacks for 0 and plus whatever boost were drawn. And that was clarified in their most recent rules reference. So you can go check that out if you want to. But anyway, I'm back to Norman Osborne. So now I'm going to draw my encounter card. And it is the villain schemes. Okay, I don't want him to scheme. I just don't, because I don't want it to move in case for some reason I can't win. So I'm going to play Enhanced Spider Sense. And I'm going to use Squirrel Girl to pay for that. And just cancel that Treachery card. The when revealed effect. And so we'll move on to Spider-Man's turn. Okay, so Spider-Man will attack for 2 to remove these counters off Criminal Enterprise and have Green Goblin flip back. And when he flips, if you remember, you deal 4 damage to each player, so that will drop Spider-Man down from 8 to 4. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead, he's got 6 health left, so I'm going to go ahead and play a Swinging Web Kick using my 3 resources I have left to do 8 damage, bringing him from 6 to 0, and that is the game. Spider-Man leadership defeats Green Goblin Risky Business on Expert. Okay, well, you may have thought that the game was a little easy, and I think the common consensus is that Risky Business is one of the easier scenarios. Obviously, if you play it and you think it's easy, you can always try Heroic Mode level 1 or 2 to beef up the difficulty, but I have not played against Green Goblin Risky Business on camera, and I haven't played with Spider-Man, so I thought this is a perfect matchup. Spider-Man against Green Goblin, not Norman Osborne. So I decided to go ahead and do it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you want to know of any future videos I have coming out, then hit the notification bell. I haven't done a game against Ultron yet, so I'm planning on doing a game against him, but I'm not sure which hero yet. But I've been thinking about it. But if you want to know when that video is coming up, hit the notification bell. Plus, I have other playthroughs from other games that I want to do in the future. So just hit the notification bell, like and subscribe so you'll know when those are coming. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and until next time, I'll save you a seat at the table.